Lululemon, can you get it together because we don't like your brand anymore. TikTok Shop makes more revenue than Sephora and Ulta combined. So last year, Sephora and Ulta combined did $21 billion. TikTok Shop did $66 billion. The headline this week is that Meta launched Instagram for TV, and it's an app that allows you to download on your smart TV.
I can get more entertainment with an algorithm that knows what I like on Reels that are just taking the best of people's content and feeding it to me.
YouTube got the rights to the Oscars for 2029.
That deal, I wonder if that was a package deal where they also secured the rights to Motorola pagers, because my idea about the Oscars is that they're entirely not worth watching.
Melania Trump is releasing Melania the Movie, which is a documentary in connection with Amazon MGM Studios.
We need to learn from people that we disagree with, and Trump is an absolute master at the media.
Alex Earle had partnered with Poppy and had gotten equity and invested in the company.
Partnering with the right influencer as you're getting ready can really make you way more money for giving away a little bit of the company. And not an influencer, but somebody who knows how to message you in a digital world.
Salomon, it hires an MM6 designer.
I think people are moving towards, if they're going to spend money on luxury, they want it to work. They actually want a walking tool that is the best walking tool.
Netflix collabs with Barstool Sports.
By getting the podcaster who has the most influence on sports viewers, they're now going to bring more sports viewers to their sports programming. And that, my friends, is the end of all of the networks.
What a brand, what a brand, what a brand, what a mighty good brand. Say it again now. What a brand, what a brand, what a brand, what a mighty good brand.
Welcome back, everybody. Last episode before Christmas.
Yes. I don't think last of 2026,
No,
2025.
We got one more before we can say.
That'll be our New Year's prediction.
Till next year.
Be our New Year's prediction. Hey, look, if you're not following or sharing the podcast, please do so before you get into this amazing content we're going to be sharing with you today.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to cover as per usual, but I think we should kick it off with talking about the Lululemon feedback. I find it fascinating that every time that we do a hit piece on Lululemon, it is 90% comments of, holy shit, this is exactly how I'm feeling. Like, this is so true. I couldn't agree more. Like, it's like an echo chamber of the whole world being like, Lululemon, can you get it together? Because we don't like your brand anymore.
That usually reflects one of two things to me. One, either I'm disappointed in ourselves because we're talking about something that's too obvious, you know what I mean? And that but I think it's more along the line of it reflects some social desirability bias, and that we're saying something out loud that people aren't talking about. And then when they see somebody else has said it, they're like, yeah, I've been thinking that, I've been saying it, because to have such universal acknowledgement of the points we brought up, except for a couple of haters on there, you know, just shows that we're really speaking something that's obvious to the consumer market. It seems like a real big opportunity for some other businesses.
I mean, like, based on the stats of how well that post has done at present, it's like already over, I think, 200,000 views. Yeah. So to have like two people be like, don't love this. I mean, that's not like, that just shows you like overwhelmingly people agree with the statement. But I also think an interesting piece that came through on that is that the Lululemon CEO is ex-Sephora. Which is like they're playing the exact same playbook of let's sell to the children so that we can be on every Christmas list. But like, where does that go?
You know, I did a Substack on it a little while ago, and it's a disturbing trend in businesses, and see if you see it in your big businesses, where these public companies think the job is to find a celebrity CEO. So it's somebody who worked at another big company. Right, and I kind of compared it to Walmart and Home Depot, who usually promote from within somebody who's rised up the ranks, knows everything, right? But when you see these big companies with their kind of risk-averse boards, they're just hiring past CEOs who are essentially travelers to businesses that have marketed themselves well and call themselves celebrities, but they actually end up just ruining the company a bit more and then moving on somewhere else. So, you know, it seems like Lululemon, they hired somebody from Starbucks before, then they hired somebody from Sephora, and every time it's getting worse and worse. Like, I think the next one's going to be Kodak's ex-CEO or something like that.
No, absolutely not. They're not going to. But I think that's why overwhelmingly people agreed with us because there is obvious similarities between Starbucks and Sephora and the pattern that Lululemon is going. The reason why I think this is the most interesting is activewear. It's kind of a reoccurring theme. We're going to talk about it later in the episode with Salomon, but it's become such a big part of our life. Like when you look at your closet, you have these different categories of clothing, right? And this idea of like activewear, loungewear, hybrid materials for people who prioritize health and wellness is becoming an increasingly growing percentage of the population. And more Gen Zs and younger are perpetually living in like sweatpants. So the market cap for doing loungewear correctly is huge. And it blows my mind that Lululemon and Alo Yoga, I mean, Alo's doing a better job of Lulu, but like can't seem to figure it out. And that's why I think Skims has really this huge opportunity to lean into creating products that people want.
No, like, if I was wargaming with them, like with the leadership staff, and I was identifying opportunities, and risk assessments, going after that Lululemon market share would be a high value target
And
that's achievable. Yeah. Like, and all of, but like when you move your product focus to a younger generation, they can be very fast adopters, but they generally don't promote innovation in product lines. Like they respond to they're more easily,
they're at the bottom of at the bottom of by the time it gets to the kids and the kids are asking for it, it's no longer the people who are driving culture. It's the bottom receiving end.
And they're responding to the trends, the whole things, but like really your products have to be innovated. You always have to be making better products. And I just haven't seen anything, since the silver in the shirts, which was great product in Lulu, which made them smell a little less. Like that was good. I still have one of those. But when you're catering to that audience, it's not demanding innovation.
You're bringing up an integral, massive point that Lululemon has stopped innovating. I think the space that Skims can take is more simple than that. In that, I don't find basics are being done well anymore. And when I'd walked by the Alo store the other day, and the window was just this like fire bright red, like almost the color of the book that's behind you, and like holiday like greens, and there was like grays. And when I walk by the store, I'm like, who's buying that? Like it looks cute, but like who's buying that? And when you think about when I go into Lululemon, to me it's the same thing. I don't find they're not creating color waves for the majority of the market that's looking for neutrals.
It's more than that. It's what is the signal when you see that? The signal is like, look, this is a fun color. It's not the old days when I walked by Lululemon, you saw people actually wearing the equipment, doing the stuff, like wearing the clothing, doing things, right? It was showcasing this product is superior in its performance, right? But when you're just kind of getting people to do flashy new colors and all that stuff, you're not emphasizing that your product is a superior product. What I would have thought when I was thinking about Lululemon, I was looking at some of the comments. Somebody suggested, she was a nurse, she was like, wouldn't it have been amazing if Lululemon would have taken their approach to athleisure, taken the product innovation and turn it into like, workwear scrubs.
But that's Skims. Like Skims did that with maternity wear. Like that's why, to me, the Nike Skims really needs to turn it around. I think that they've incorporated their own corporate structure for Nike Skims, so it wasn't a collab. I think it's an ongoing opportunity. But to come out in these like dark colors that don't reflect the Skims brand. Like when you look at the Skims North Face collaboration, that was a breakout success because it was a neutral color wave. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people, and why Skims has been so successful is not only did they find a white space, but they also created color waves that you constantly want to gravitate towards. Like you want to wear their products. And when I look at Lululemon and I look at Alo and even Viore, like Viore isn't for me. There's nothing wrong with Viore, but I don't think about it. It doesn't connect with me. It doesn't seem cool enough. Like it doesn't have that cool factor.
It tried, and it kind of appealed to a few people.
It appeals to a lot of people. It's doing well. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me it's not where I feel like is what's missing in the market. And what's missing in the market is actually not providing these color waves that you can wear it 3 times and you get sick of. It's these staple pieces that are within neutral waves that make sense of what people want to wear around the house, while they're working from home, while they're at the airport, while they're going to Pilates. Like when you go to a Pilates class, there isn't like an
These are all
abundance.
places you wear Skims.
This is like literally like it just Camille only dresses
Look,
up for the podcast.
Look, send me some Skims pajamas because I love that set of pajamas you bought me. Like it's amazing.
I know Skims pajamas are great, but I mean, when I look at what Lululemon has failed in the comments, the response from so many people, there's such a desire for where Lululemon was, which was like, and that was what made the brand the best. Is when I look back on when I think about the brand, because I was always such a loyal customer. Like I had so much from Lululemon. The pieces I held on to were a heather gray cashmere like polytechnical like sweater knit. I also got it in oatmeal. I hold on to these like gray sweaters. Like they're always the neutral pieces you keep for time. The stuff you give away after a year or two are like the purple pieces. And you go to Pilates class and everyone's not wearing purple. They're wearing black, white, nude.
For me, the best piece they had that made me love Lululemon were those black track pants / joggers that were a little thicker. For some reason, they just looked like they
were tapered.
Yeah, and they made track pants into a style. You know, when everything else was just an Adidas. You got it with a soccer tracksuit, right? Like I feel like
they made it nice.
I feel like
they made it nice.
Like that was the first time I would see guys wearing a tracksuit outside, like and they should have doubled down on the single best T-shirt for working out that doesn't smell, right? That silver line. That's what they should have done. But anyhow, it's a disaster. But thank you for your comments. We'll see who takes the space that Lululemon leaves.
Yeah, I'm dying to see who they appoint, like what direction they're gonna go. But
Skims, do it.
Skims needs to
Launch
own it.
and
Like why Nike Skims? Why? Like it was like I was like ready to go. Like if they had launched like tank tops with a built-in bra in their like signature 9 shades of nudes, like holy shit, the box would have been so big that showed up at my front door. Like that's what I want.
They could actually capture that whole market. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't wear anything
like a
but
super
it,
light pink, like a pink lighter than this. Like I just somebody do it. Okay, so let's now move into TikTok Shop. I mean, TikTok Shop, this is not new, but the stat just came out that TikTok Shop makes more revenue than Sephora and Ulta combined. So last year, Sephora and Ulta combined did $21 billion. TikTok Shop did $66 billion, on pace to end the year at $70 billion.
Just let's contextualize that. Did TikTok Shop in beauty do more than
No. TikTok Shop in
it's like
in
saying
general.
Walmart did more than
but the reason
Sephora.
why I'm comparing those
what
is
percentage of the TikTok Shop was in what areas? That's what's interesting to me.
beauty is the predominant because it's so easy, right? It's that lipstick effect that like when you're scrolling at night and somebody posts something in beauty or wellness, it's so much because you're seeing the transformation. So that's what makes it so powerful. So you're right, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but the reason why I'm bringing that up is what's so fascinating in the beauty space is that beauty founders are trying to get product to go viral on TikTok so that they can increase their sales in Sephora, because if not for driving demand somewhere else, they're just competing in a very saturated shopping space.
Which is what I would tell them is make good TikTok so that you can sell on TikTok and get way better percentages
Well,
of
you
profit.
get the whole margin
Right.
opposed to having to split it to like with the Sephora agreement, right? So what's so funny and crazy is that people are trying to generate like you could collapse that entire funnel on TikTok specifically, which is why I'm going to talk about Lemme as being a brand that's really actually crushing it on TikTok Shop, because it has such a massive opportunity for brands.
Let's talk about Lemme.
So Lemme,
This is the lead singer of Motorhead. That's
the name Lemme.
that's what I know Lemme from.
Well,
So it's hilarious that they chose it.
It's another Kardashian tap. So Lemme is owned by Kourtney Kardashian, which I never found it to be like particularly impressive is the wrong word, because the branding always looked good, but I'm just like skeptical of like, you know, like the gummy candies that like make your hair grow and, you know, like make you lose weight, and like there's an abundance of that, so it's not really for me. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't realize is how much she is crushing on TikTok Shop. So she's apparently generated over 60 million in revenue, and she's the top grossing wellness brand on TikTok. She's been using the swarm strategy, which a few brands have been using and have been known to be quite successful. And there's 8 brands that are doing over $1 million a month on TikTok Shop, and she is one of them. Basically, the strategy is they use the swarm strategy. So she has 13,000 affiliates that she connects with the brand. AI adds them. So it's like an AI program that selects and partners the affiliate. And what makes TikTok Shop so fascinating is it's the only affiliate network that you can create the parameters that the person doesn't have to pay for the product based on sales. So for Instagram, you have to ship the product and basically let go of product and gift it and hope it makes money. On TikTok, you can set the parameters that they have to sell 7 before they get that product for free, or however many that makes sense for you, so that it incentivizes brands to have to gift a ton of product. But from the 13,000 affiliates that she has, they've created over 55,000 pieces of content. So they're creating almost 5 pieces of content each, which is generating for her way more sales without having to send them way more free product.
It almost hurts how much more effective that is than what traditional marketing agencies are telling people to do. Like this is like guerrilla. It's not even guerrilla warfare. It's out there now, but it's such a smart way to do things. Like I know we're doing this with a couple of the brands we're working with, and like if you have people who like your product or like your founder, like you can crush it with this strategy.
And that's what she's doing so intelligently is like she shows up, she creates this content. Girls feel like they're cool posting about this Lemme brand. The branding is super dialed into this like female audience, and they're doing all of the selling for her, and they're making money along the way. Plus they have that association with the brand. They're getting that bump. So they feel more inclined to create more content, which is in turn making her so much money. But what's so fascinating about her TikTok strategy, and this is what many businesses don't know, you can actually increase your average order value through doing all of this because they have subscription capabilities. So people who buy off of an affiliate can generate a 12-month subscription with a user. The only difference is that how successful the like meta sales are is through a landing page where you have the subscription directly through the brand.
Yes,
It's like a Shopify add-on. TikTok Shop has the subscription feature built in. So it's not, that's what makes the TikTok Shop so fascinating is the entire funnel is collapsed into one point of purchase.
It's funny when I talk to executives how simple things can make a huge difference to your business. So Meta is huge and they're doing some things well here. But that decision action cycle we talk about in terms of seeing what your competition is doing, Instagram should be at the exact same page because it makes so much sense to make it that much easier for people to use the affiliate program. And the fact that they can't change fast enough, it shows that their leadership team is a bit slow.
I think that's actually the biggest advantage that TikTok has over Instagram is this shoppability.
Yeah.
And TikTok did such a great job, as well as with the live feature. That's what made it an entire ecosystem. Because you can, so when Kim did Kim's Miss, and it was this huge like TV production, in live time, you can talk about a sale or a bundle as people are entertained and watching you, and in one click purchase the product. So they have all of the features in one place to completely collapse the sales funnel. And that's what makes it so brilliant. But what also is really working on TikTok Shop is this idea of special pricing or bundle pricing. So it's really where TikTok is becoming like this QVC where you can only get this deal in one place.
That's why people will tune in.
Yes.
Otherwise, you know what I mean? You need to make them feel like I got to tune in because this is my one time to get it.
Yeah, like there's scarcity to this. So the example with Shark Beauty, which is one of the top 8 that are making insane money in TikTok affiliates, they're not cheap products. They're like $200, $300 products. But because the product is priced higher, people are more inclined to create better content because their revenue that they're making, their commission is higher because the product is higher. And what Shark did that's brilliant is, let's say something is for sale somewhere for $229. Everywhere, Walmart, Costco, Amazon, it's all standardized the price. But on TikTok Shop, they say that it's actually $300 with $100 off. So it's $200. And what they're saving is $29. But they're making it seem like you're saving $100. So even though you're still saving money based on those other platforms, you still have a higher incentive to buy it off of TikTok Shop because it's still a deal. But they make it seem like it's a better deal.
No, and the company's margins are way better. Like it's a no-brainer. Like anybody in the beauty industry who's in Sephora.
Wellness,
it just
gadgets,
depends on what they're, like,
tech.
I know some of Sephora's contracts were trying to stop that.
Yeah, they're trying to punish it.
Right? But like before you sign for Sephora, you should really look at if that's the right goal for you, because you could probably make more money in TikTok.
Well, that's what's really kind of this larger complicated conversation is Sephora is kind of this like halo, right? Like it makes your brand seem more legitimate because it's a Sephora-based beauty brand. But what was interesting about the video we did last week on Lululemon and me saying like I don't go to Sephora anymore, there was so many people that related to that.
Yeah.
Like it's just become, it's overwhelming that it's like all children and they're like ransacking the shelves and it's just chaos and it's just like no thanks. But my point is what's actually coming through in the industry is people are determining what are the best products based off of affiliate revenue. So like the Shop My program, right? Like how many people bought what products through the Shop My affiliate links, and those brands are becoming the it brands. So it's interesting. It's such a complicated ecosystem for these beauty brands that they're probably going to start cutting out these legacy players, because if you like think about all the pieces you're giving away a piece of the pie.
Like from a leadership perspective, one of the keys to your success is your observation abilities. And because most leaders are like hidden back in the boardroom in their fancy chairs surrounded by yes men and women, they're not getting information. And the delay can be critical to your business. So if you guys own a business, like you really need to pay attention to what's going on by asking questions that other people aren't asking, by talking to people who don't agree with you, because that Sephora thing is pretty obvious if you were to look at it, but their board isn't seeing where that trend is going. It's kind of what we've talked about in the past. Like if you want to invest in a city and you see tons, by the time you see 6 cranes in a city, it's time to sell. But that's when everybody is buying. And so there's always this delayed reaction in terms of how to repurpose your company resources.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing through this content in the comments is that the people are speaking loudly, but the boardrooms aren't hearing it.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point, and I think that's a big thing that we need to talk more about on the podcast, is that there's different strokes for different folks. And there's a lot of celebrities that are entering into the product space because everybody wants a piece of this craziness where you can no longer just have to wait to get an offer from a brand to show up for a photo shoot. You know, you can actually own the entire ecosystem and there's way more money. And what's complicated about this Sephora dialogue is that, like, we work with a few celebrity brands that are in Sephora. It makes sense for their positioning strategy because everything that they need to do when they launch, it has to be done at the highest level. But if you're not a celebrity and you don't have access to a VC firm that can generate $15 million on your Series A funding, then you need to be aware of these opportunities before they become oversaturated.
Or if you're a celebrity, like if you're already in that racket and have your secured space, then you can do it. But if you're a celebrity who's looking at going into it, I wouldn't be competing what they're doing now.
The only thing though that's interesting, like that's actually why though Lemme is working on TikTok Shop, because Kourtney Kardashian launched it in all of these big retailers and Erhan, she created this cool factor to the brand. And then by going into TikTok Shop, it makes the TikTok Shop experience seem more elevated. Like these university girls feel like it's a more privileged thing to sell product on behalf of Kourtney, because when you go into all of these high-end retailers, there is a Lemme display case. So by her going into these, like it wasn't like she just launched it during DTC.
Isn't it like making that cool through social media? Like is that a version of what's happening? Is you're getting a bunch of people to sell your products? And
it's a version through the lens of every one of these opportunities, there's different pieces of the pie you're giving away. And that's why you want to limit. That's where it becomes a really complicated and expensive business if you have to give a piece to Shop My and a piece to the influencer and a piece to the TikTok Shop and then a piece to Sephora, but you're driving all this discoverability everywhere else, and then Sephora takes a huge chunk of the pie. But ultimately, the affiliate networks are like multi-level marketing. The only thing is, if I create a video for Lemme and I get an affiliate commission off of my sale and you follow me and you want to start going through Lemme, you don't go through me.
But
you go through the brand.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
It's better. Yeah, it's better.
No, but from my thinking, like that also worked in the past, right? Because it'll make the affiliates hustle to get more. But in the end, the people who make money are only the ones at the top. But I was just interested if they were allowing multi-level.
Shop. No, they're not. Yeah. And they're not because ultimately they don't need to, right? And like that's the thing too is because TikTok Shop is the platform that equally owns all of our handles, they don't have to give more to the top than to the bottom. Anyone that wants, and they ultimately want more people to join the affiliate network because more and more people are going to enter into the space. And that's kind of the problem with
You should get a referral fee. They should find a way that if I'm affiliate, like if I'm selling like the best tent or whatever for camping, and if somebody wants to be if I refer them, like there should be some way to encourage me to create a community just to reward financially rather than me just sell. But what they're doing makes much better sense for the businesses.
It's an interesting angle for them to consider to get into. But the reason why where it's not necessary at the present moment is that because they own the algorithm, the content acts as an organic ad. So all that they care about is that when we go on TikTok and 11 of the videos are educate.
I know TikTok doesn't have a need to do it, but if I'm the like the swarm mentality, like it'd be nice if I as the company can say, hey, look, any of you out there who are like bringing people in to become affiliates, we can give you some sort of kiss or something. But anyhow, I'm just saying, if you are as an affiliate, I bust my butt and I sell thousands of things and people go, hey, how do I sell this? And if I was to send them to the company, it'd be nice to get a referral.
Well, we've known beauty brands in Europe that have done that have been successful. I don't know why it'd be worth Lemme's time if they're doing it's just way more work when they're already killing it. Like it doesn't make sense. But I do think that it's just interesting for where we're going, right? Like it just is something to get ahead of before it becomes overdone. But I think this is the future because we're now going to get into social media as coming for traditional TV. And when I think about how I want to buy and these famous people are getting into products, I'm at least more interested in, if I'm scrolling, seeing what they're holding and what they're talking about and why. Like it's just more interesting than a straight ad and a straight campaign.
No, the segment we're going into I call the 3-prong death blow to the TV networks.
That's an interesting hook.
The 3 things we're about to talk about are going to be the death sentence to the TV networks as we know them.
Well, the first one definitely is so the headline this week is that Meta launched Instagram for TV, and it's an app that allows you to download on your smart TV so that you can basically go through the Instagram feed on your TV screen. And it shows you who's watching the content, who's liked the content, and it's just short form video that just keeps scrolling through so that you can consume content. But what's so fascinating about this is it speaks to the reality of this second screen, right? Where you want to have something that's going on in the background that allows you to just have something going and playing while you're doing something else on your phone. And Instagram is so limited to you having to have the app open that they can have more content playing with more ads that are running to generate more eyeballs in a way that's larger and more effective than just on your cell phone.
So it's interesting because TVs are played less and less. Like I think the hotel statistics show that the vast majority of TVs in hotel rooms are never turned on.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But when you look at how TVs are laid out, it's always landscaped, right? If I was in the TV manufacturing, I would have like an ability to easily rotate it because you want to watch your Instagram reels in a vertical rather than a horizontal. So we always put them horizontal, but you might see a movement to have your TVs vertical if that's where you're consuming most of your content.
I think it's the right move for where I think media and content is going. Like, for example, yesterday when I was at the nail salon, there's a new like reality TV show, and I never watch reality TV. I don't make time for it. And I wanted to watch some clips of this new show that some friends of mine are on, but I don't want to download a Disney subscription. I don't want to watch 45 minutes of the episode. Like I just want to watch the clips, like the highlight clips, like 2-minute kind of clips, to get a feel for the show. And that's where I think all of this is going, is that if you have this app and I type in a name of a show, there can be from their official page just hundreds of clips that come out from like every week and like just breaking down the show that they can run ads through as I'm watching, and like that just be playing in the background so I can get a better vibe than just having it. Like I don't want people to buy my attention in the same way. Like I don't want to watch the 45 minutes to get the best 3 minutes. I just want the best 3 minutes.
No, I was thinking why is it so easy to get into doom scrolling? It's because they can take the 5 best scenes from a movie, and put them into little 30, and they're amazing scenes. Right? I don't have to watch the whole movie, but they're very entertaining. Like it's, and where like these big corporations are missing the boat or ruining things again. before we had the streaming, you had to buy cable packages from a cable or satellite provider,
get all of it
and you had
when
to
you
pay
don't
this
want
when
it.
you got all
Yeah.
this stuff. And so originally you're like, okay, good, I can just, and what I've been saying for years is I just want to pay for what I watch. Like if I want to watch a whole thing, like I don't want to pay anything monthly. If I want to watch this movie, I just want to pay whatever's fair. But as you see, they keep expanding the network, making you sign in, have more passwords. Like essentially they just recreated what that was on cable now. So it's frustrating, but I can get more entertainment with an algorithm that knows what I like on reels that are just taking the best of people's content and feeding it to me.
Well, I also think it's hard from the aspect of discoverability, right? Like it's hard when all of these platforms have so much content to find that new TV show or that new movie unless there's some kind of hyper awareness driven through social media. And when I
You know what the danger is? Sorry. They should have an audible command to like something. So let's say like I'm cleaning up the dishes, which I'm amazing at. But that's on the TV screen, right? What Instagram risks losing is that there's nowhere to click, right? You're far away from the screen. So it should be, hey, like that. Hey, leave a comment on that. Like there should be an ability to engage with it from a distance, because what the mobile phone does is you have this engagement right in your hands,
Yeah.
because you might get lack of an engagement or discoverability. But if you like something, and then they can't see your eyeballs like they can on the phone to see where you're slowing down, what you're watching in order to feed you up new stuff. So they're going to have to work that out.
I mean, we could do an entire episode on all the ways in which Siri could improve in a modern world, but
I hate Siri.
I just think that where this is going just shows you that we had this conversation the other day, which leads into the next headline of like, think of all of the things that are on broadcast TV that they're losing so much potential on, like ads and relevance and eyeballs, because they're still committed to having it be watched on TV, right? Like even like the Olympics, like think about how much, like I would just love to be able to, in an easier way, like they try to do it through the phones, but like it could be way better for like the Olympics. Like I'm working all day. Like I would love to just have like the highlights of what happened, like the last 10 minutes.
But you know how
No,
like
it could
on
be way better.
You know how on the controls you can press the voice activated, right? Like for searching.
Yeah.
There should be an element where you say, hey, whatever, you know what I mean? Send feedback on this show, like on any show. Like there should be we should increase the interaction with whatever we're watching so that the feedback loop should happen. So as I'm watching some new show, like even if it's a reality show, you want to know when people are engaging with it, what they like about it. And if you could just audibly say, hey, Bobby, this was an amazing scene, I love that. Like just a way to make it more interactive with the audible. And as an aside, I think Apple should do a campaign that allows you to break up with Siri, right? And pick something new. Like if they were going to launch something else, because I hate Siri. Like every time I talk to Siri, I hate her. Like I'm sure she's a nice person, well-intentioned. She is just not the partner that I want on my phone. And they've kept this name brand that has nothing positive about it.
It's actually a really interesting problem. Like if like there could be like almost like a Shopify plugin or like an app that you can buy that's like a better optimized AI.
Yeah, I want to break up with my with Siri.
Yeah, like I'll keep the iPhone.
Yeah.
Because like
give me some options.
But just give me some options. I'll pay more to have like a better assistant that can just do more for me.
And
where
it would
this
be
AI
funny.
is as good as they marketed it 2 years ago. But the next headline is that YouTube got the rights to the Oscars for 2029.
That deal, I wonder if that was a package deal where they also secured the rights to Motorola pagers, because my idea about the Oscars is that they're entirely not worth watching. Like movies today are absolutely useless.
Garbage.
Right? And I can talk about, I have a secret of how to make better movies I can talk about later, but the movies are garbage. That's an old iconic institution that I know YouTube wants to go after. TV and events are like the last refuge of network TV. So that just might be kind of a throwaway kill shot, that if we take that, they're not going to have any revenue, because we want to put them under the ground, because I don't know how you make the Oscars worth watching for 3 hours. The way that the award ceremonies are done, with how bad the movies are these days.
Okay, well, there's two things to talk about. The first angle is it's interesting and about time. I'm shocked that it's that long. Clearly, they had to buy out one of the networks because the networks had like a longevity contract. That it doesn't make sense anymore for these networks to hold on to these expensive events because there's no advertisers and there's just the eyeballs are not there anymore.
It made sense in the past. It used to be the most popular Sunday. The Oscars was huge, but people didn't have second screen opportunities the same way, and movies were way better, and celebrities weren't ruining their brand by getting into politics. Like now the Oscars is just a virtue signaling political show. It's not
The
talking.
Oscars have always been political. It's always been an opportunity for people who have a platform
Sure.
to help things that they cared about. The difference is that movies used to be the entertainment.
Yeah.
So because we've now introduced something else that is entertainment, we're not as entertained by the movies. And during that time, the quality of the movies also dropped off. So it therefore, like, typically, but like in the past, like I would try to watch all of the movies that were making it into the Oscars so that I could have an opinion on the ones that would win. But now the communication channel is broken.
Just a second. It's pablum to say they were always political because the Oscars a couple years ago said you could not be nominated for the Oscars unless you met DEI criteria in terms of having a certain percentage of minorities in your film. Like it fundamentally changed the movie awards
The
system.
caliber of the movies that entered, not the speeches that were being made.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. You were saying that it was all these actors making political statements. Like that's been happening for longer.
Yeah, sure. That has happened, but the Oscars became completely politicized, and it's always been somewhat.
It changed the value of the movies that were getting nominated, which made it less interesting because it was no longer on the merit of the movie, but of the standards that they met. So they would just throw in like random scenes that didn't connect to the plot line that just checked the box for these DEI standards, or like it just wasn't. It's not good.
YouTube could be doing something quite Machiavellian if they want to get the Oscars, like an award for their content, and they're making more content these days. Hosting the Oscars does give them some levers of control over how to get nominated, how to get in there. Like there's always influence when you're in charge of the whole event, right? So it could be kind of a guerrilla Machiavellian way.
They're not in charge of the event. They're the streaming platform.
I know, but when you host it, you have charge of it because you're in charge of you're paying for it, right? I know they're not organizing it, but when you're hosting it, you have more influence on the event.
Yeah, you've got more info, on how it like shows up, how it's recorded.
Who gets?
But it's hilarious because we have like the clip from The Verge talking about this, and like the one guy is like, it's just going to continue to create categories that Beyonce is going to win in, and it's just going to. They literally have created this award of like what movie made the most money in box offices, just so that they can hopefully get an Oscar to get more A-list celebrities to show up, because often the movie that made the most money tends to have the most names though too, because they had budget, right? So it's like it allows it to have big names to show up at the Oscars again. But what's interesting about this though, and I do think it's worth talking about as an aside for the Oscars sucking, and like they need strategic help. They need a rebrand. The Oscars needs a rebrand. But outside of the Oscars needing a rebrand, what I think is fascinating about this move is that I found myself several times this year missing the moment when it was live and going back to watch it because of the response on social media. So the Victoria's Secret fashion show, we watched the next day. Vogue World, I watched the next day. I'm finding that...
Approximate, close to it.
But I need there to be a place, the Matthew Blasey Maître d'Art. I find that social media is driving a dialogue that reinforces that something was worth my time. And I'm waiting for that feedback loop to go and decide to put time into it than needing to watch it live like we used to because we had to.
No, so I guess then the people who are watching it live then influence who watches it subsequently.
Yes.
So that's an interesting strategy point there.
And that to me is when I say that Oscars need to rebrand, what they need to be cognizant of is second viewing. So how do you construct and make an event not necessarily worth the loyalist eyeballs that are going to watch it on that first Sunday, but to generate people coming back to watching it for the subsequent week? Like that's the move that they need to be on top of.
The world has almost changed to, you run a live event, the only people watching are influencers who want to pick out what was good about the event to share on their feeds to get eyeballs, which then might bring you back there. Like it's a whole different movement.
It's a whole different movement. And that to me is what I think is the most relevant, is even when I talk about, like I know the Oscars, the Olympics have done this, but I don't find they did a good enough job of creating these are the pieces worth you watching based on the feedback and the reaction that we received on social media. So like if they could generate, like I don't need to watch a 3-hour award show.
If you know the Olympic Committee, very kind of, we'll do it the way we tell you to watch it, right? So they don't agree that the shot put might not be as exciting as the 100-meter dash. Like, it's scheduled in a way, but they didn't want you to parse out the Olympics. They wanted you to watch all of the events, or all of the butterfly swimming events you know what I mean? Like, so they resisted doing what you're talking about, but that's a great point by you.
Yeah, I think it needs to change. Then the next one, there's another headline on what was your headline again? The
3-pronged death stroke that will bury the television networks forever.
And that's why folks will always be better than AI, because how could you find this but the third headline is Netflix collabs with Barstool Sports. And what's interesting about this is, one, I actually love the way that Dave Portnoy, it was like the most non-press release, but it was so on brand to Barstool, which is so awesome. I love how he's built this empire and stayed so true to this hilarious brand. But what's interesting is they've moved to putting Barstool Sports, the podcast, on Netflix, which is interesting because when you think about the Netflix experience, most people go to watch a movie maybe once a week and they leave. So they've got a really high churn rate of people leaving the platform. Whereas a podcast, people show up every week to listen to the podcast. So it's increasing the amount of eyeballs and relationship connection with Netflix, that people feel more reasons to go to Netflix to consume the content that they're doing on a more frequent basis.
Meta gets live TV so that your TV could be used for Reels, because it was hard to do that in the past. YouTube was doing it too. So now that TV screen is easier to use
Instagram.
For that stuff.
Yep. YouTube buys
award shows, which were events that brought people to the networks.
Yeah.
And Netflix is doing football and sports, which was the last.
Podcasting.
Yeah. And podcasting, which was the last vestige. And so by getting the podcaster who has the most influence on sports viewers, they're now going to bring more sports viewers to their sports programming. And that, my friends, is the end of all of the networks.
It makes sense when you think about how, I'm finding that I go to YouTube more and more, that reality TV show I was talking about at the nail salon. I went to YouTube to be are there some episodes that I can watch before I commit to purchasing the Disney Plus? I feel like we're moving towards the ability to stream.
You know what?
TV doesn't make sense in a streaming world.
My guerrilla marketing strategy right now would be to try to get Dave Portnoy to like my films.
Yeah.
Right? Because his opinion on films is really going to make a big difference. It already does, but once he's on Netflix on a platform that's doing it, this guy has an audience and people aren't using him.
Agreed. The next is your favorite topic. We're now going to break down.
Put me in a box. I got enough haters.
I know, but we're talking about Trump and the media wars. So the headline I wanted to start with is Melania Trump is releasing Melania the Movie, which is a documentary in connection with Amazon MGM Studios. So Amazon and MGM came together and they're releasing this documentary talking about her. It's an unprecedented fly on the wall inside look into what it's like being the First Lady of the United States in their second term. And it's a really compelling documentary. But why this matters is it shows you, when you think about it, all of these first ladies and presidents, they wrote books. Michelle Obama did a book. Joe Biden did a book. So they all do books. They don't do documentaries. And it's such a way more consumable and accessible way for people to hear that story without having to read a book. Crazy concept.
People are tied to old institutions that make them think that they're special. So I got to write a book. What Melania has done is look, it's easy to consume an hour and see my life.
It's easier for me to walk around the last 8 years with a cameraman and have them edit it than for me to sit down and try to recount with my memory what happened in the last 8 years.
A ghostwriter, but it's this kind of arrogance of intellectualism. Is I'll write a book. And I'm sure all the other first ladies are poo-pooing, oh, she's doing a video. She can't write a book. You didn't write your book. It was ghost written.
Yeah.
And it's the best sleep aid in the world because you don't say anything interesting.
So true. That was my absolute criticism of the Obama book. I committed 18 hours on Audible to this book. And at the end, I'm like, what did I learn?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
No. But it's
I
interesting.
like Michelle Obama's book, though. I did like that
It's
one.
interesting from a perspective to see what's going on and to get that insight. And people can pick it up. So it's a recognition of the actual media landscape in which people consume stuff.
Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of circles in which it's a rite of passage, to have read the Michelle Obama book, but there's a lot more people in the past when I was asked by women, like, you know, what books would you recommend me read, I always was like the Sheryl Sandberg book, the Don't Roll Your Eyes, the Michelle Obama book. And so many people didn't read it because it's not easy for the masses to read a book. This is just such a more modern, like, it shows you how much they understand media and attention, that they're doing something that is so much more relevant before even the end of the term. So they're actually creating like fans and hype and awareness as it's happening to drive the media story forward.
Yeah, it's part of the political campaign, but it's a better way to do it.
It's so smart.
Because all that a book would do is, you know what I mean? Like all of the people who hate Melania will just write how bad it is.
Truthfully, I don't know if I'd read her book, but like I definitely would watch her documentary.
It's always about story, right? So I don't know
if I would. Honestly, I don't know if I would, but I would definitely watch the documentary. Like I'm actually excited to look at even her fashion, like the clothing, like the style. That was the biggest thing with the second term is like Aliyah dressed her. Like the first term, it was like nobody wanted to touch her with a 10-foot pole. And then the second term, she is like this fashion icon that these fashion brands can't get enough of. And it's such an interesting change.
It's hilarious that Amazon is also doing this thing, like Money Talks, because it's going to get a lot of views.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's very media savvy.
Totally. Well, and then have you...
Yeah, and moving into, like, Camille puts me in a box. Like, I was in the Green Party at one point. I was a hippie who saw the Grateful Dead. Like, I've been a liberal for a lot of my life, but I'm able to change my mind based on good evidence. And so I do recognize that some things Trump administration does are effective. And we need to learn from people that we disagree with. And Trump is an absolute master at the media.
He is.
And you can criticize him all day long, but every time you're criticizing him, you're just making him more popular with the people who are voting for him. And he knows that. And he's a perfect example of somebody who understands his brand and moves forward with that purpose and ignores the distractions of people around him.
Well, which is actually, I want you to, why don't you touch on that for a moment, talk about his media interview this week and what you had talked to me about a few weeks ago about how they don't focus on the distraction tactics and how that's like allowing him to propel forward.
Real power is exercised behind the curtain of what you think is going on. So for everybody who's sure they know what the world is like, what they're seeing is usually a curtain. Like the power stuff is going on behind, and you're actually intended to be outraged all the time because you're not really seeing what's going on. Trump is a master at that. Like he'll say something crazy and everybody will think he's insane. He's just said it's crazy because he knows it's going to soak up a news cycle and take people away from what he might be trying to do somewhere else. So there's a lot of strategy behind a person that everybody loves to call dumb. And when it came to the press conference this week, I think it was Wednesday night at 8:00, right? How do you get all of the networks to cover your press conference at Wednesday at 8:00 when a lot of them don't really like you? Well, it looked to me when I did some research that he deliberately leaked some stories that he was going to announce that he was going to war with Venezuela. And he was using all of the kind of media, the mainstream media outlets that were saying, oh my God, he's out of control with Venezuela. He's doing this, he's doing this. And so
everyone tuned in.
And so somebody in his team said, let's leak a couple things that we're going to announce. We're going to go to war for Venezuela. Every media outlet goes live. And he spends and it's only a 20-minute talk this time. It's one of his shortest ones. And he just spends 20 minutes telling the American people how amazing what he's done, about what he's done. So he captured, Super Bowl level eyeballs, right? And it's a
but it's even more. It was even more than that. You can't glaze past like the details. He begins by introducing that the tariffs are so successful that the checks have already been cut for veterans to have like cash in their pocket for the holidays. It's like $1,100.
For every service person from private to 5-star general.
Like every single person. Because
1,700
for every single person. And because they made so much extra money with all the budget cuts and the tariffs that they had budget to be able to give back into the pockets of American people. Like that, when you have all of these eyeballs and being so polarized to come in and to be like, look, And then to use that as a way to say stats have never been better. We've never had more people enrolling in the military. Compare it to where it was before they had the lowest enrollment. And then to be able to go on to basically puffing his chest on how great everything else is, he sets the tone with a real action that allows the people who love him to like bow down to him. Like it creates a religious a connection with this person, and we're too busy to say that we dislike him, to not want to like learn from how he's able to manipulate the media to provide the message and the positioning that is allowing him to win.
In your business, like there are pejoratives that we use to people that we don't like or agree with, and so you can say manipulative, but it's effective use of media. And in today's world, if you want to get attention to something that you're doing, you can't go the traditional route. Hire the old marketing company, go in the paper, like you have to have people around you who can come up with creative, strategic techniques that get you attention. That's the lesson learned for you. Like, hate him all you like, and for some people it doesn't matter because he gives $1,700 to every serving member of the U.S. forces, right? And for a brand new private who's coming out of a poor area of the U.S., they don't get paid that much. That $1,700 could pay for a flight back to see their family. They're not paid. Like, it has a tremendous effect on their life, and he attributes it directly to tariffs, saying other countries paid, so that's good. Now, if you're Whoopi Goldberg, you say this is Trump trying to bribe soldiers to participate in his revolution. Later, like it's how, it's not really good thinking. So the way the world goes is if you're going to do something for your product, do something strategic, do something interesting, and don't worry about haters. Just move.
And you're so right. And also, sorry for cutting you off because that was actually a really good final point. Mm-hmm. You're only speaking to your base. Like, make them your most loyal fans and evangelists. Because what you're getting to is so intelligent. We talk about this all the time, like Black Friday sales. Why are you giving generic sales to everyone instead of being special to the people that support you throughout the year? Like, that was one of my favorite things that Aritzia did, just to make this like a branding moment. They always had clientele, which were like, they gave me a special window before they opened it up to the public where I would get first access to the products going on sale so I could get my size. And it made me feel so special. It made me so loyal to the brand. I always spent money because they knew who their customer was and they spoke to their customer. They also gave me a really high quality gift every year, like a really good quality, like a gorgeous candle or like a really nice beach bag that I've kept. And it's the same thing. It's like, reward the people who love you, take care of them, use it as an opportunity. And even the criticism we gave of Summer Fridays this year of doing that like $1 million event with like famous celebrities, like, don't do that. Like, spend that money on the people who buy your products, not on other celebs.
Like, the people who like you, keep them liking you, obviously, in your business. But when you're overly focused on criticism or haters, it's true in politics, it's true in business. You can win the 20% in the middle, that are between you and your competitor. And in politics, in order to win, all you're trying to do is convince the 20% of the independents in the middle. So the people who absolutely hate you, they're never going to like you. So don't worry about pissing off the people who hate your brand, ever.
Yeah.
Message to your base and to the people who are in that realm of independent who can come there, and don't worry about pissing people off.
You're so right. And then also, just before we wrap up on Trump, did you see that he launched the Patriot Games this week? So it's a national athletic competition for high schoolers to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. And the format involves selecting
there are so many jokes I could do on this.
One boy and one girl from every state at the top athletic performance, and they're to compete against all the other picks from the other states. And instantly people were like, this is the Hunger Games. Like, he launched the Hunger Games. But it speaks to he's so smart in that he uses a format that allows the haters to go crazy about it. But when you read it, to celebrate, it's really like the American Olympics, right? They're just picking the two best athletes in every state, and they're not making it a man thing. They're making it a woman and a man thing. And they're just going to celebrate the athletes within America.
It's cool because you could make a kind of a decathlon type event of like all around American athlete, like, which would be fun. Like, have a cool
American Ninja Warrior.
American Ninja Warrior. Like, that's a very athletic based. Like,
but it's a show that already has views. Like, he's so smart in that he's leaning into themes that allows the haters to give him media.
And kids, which is always dangerous because, like, kids are important. Like, people always fight for the minds of kids young. But by having that contest, the haters, they want you to feel guilty for trying to promote your country. So you call it the Patriot Games, you make it a great story. They can say it's like the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was popular because it was a good story.
So was Squid Games,
Right?
You know what I mean? Like,
Right?
no,
but the Patriot
yes.
Games of the states competing, that will be a good story. Like, it's also like The Long Walk, which is a shitty movie, but great book. But imagine the work up to that every year, the people who are competing to do it. And I can see some states maybe trying to squeeze in some advantages based on, how they fill their gender rules. But I don't know if that's going
No
to be
way
allowed.
he's going to allow that. No, but that's, I just, it goes back to, he's creating interesting headlines. He's creating an interesting dialogue. It's sadly the world is too divisive, and I don't want that. But it's so much to learn from a messaging standpoint.
I would like to see, I like that type of stuff, especially if there was like some sort of scholarship, because you don't have to be incredibly rich to win that.
No, you win something that's like really so it's basically it attempts to create a new American institution from scratch to rival the NCAA or the Olympics, and it's catering to cultural attention on specific definitions of patriotism. And then there'll be brands that can associate it. Like there's for sure going to be a huge prize that, like, to your point, is like a scholarship, is something like it's good.
I like those type of things, even for students who are, you don't have to be athletic, but you know what I mean, like
but
the
he's
science
also
fair.
making a bunch of people famous.
They should take the science fair and make that into a national kind of science
he's
Patriot Games.
He's
too.
allowing them to build personal brands and platforms off of this. We're celebrating. It's no longer like Love Island and The Bachelor. Like, it's actually speaking to merit and seeing how impressive people are in our communities.
No, and when they intro the athletes, you're going to hear their story.
Yeah.
Right, I'm from Nebraska, I did this. My father passed away in Afghanistan, I did this. And you have a whole, like, it's amazing Americana.
Yeah, it's so true. So moving on, next is heritage branding is in. I wanted to talk about this quickly because I haven't had an opportunity to talk about it in the last few episodes. We kind of touched on it last week in that when we were talking about the Pinterest 2026 trends. But heritage branding is really had a moment this year, whether we talk about it from the Burberry campaigns to Roots went back to it with their holiday campaigns this year, bringing back their traditional, going back, funny enough, to their roots. Ralph Lauren has had a massive groundswell. It's been super successful. And I wanted to introduce this stat that before Christmas, before Halloween hit, there was already 5 million searches on Ralph Lauren Christmas, like the aesthetic of Ralph Lauren. And for brands that have heritage, you need to lean into why you've existed for as long as you've existed and going back to what made you great, because it's proven with Burberry and Ralph Lauren that people have, that these Gen Zs have grown up during a time where everything was innovative and novel, and they want to go back to these classic aesthetics that represent quality. Like, newness isn't novel. Tradition is what people are hungry for.
The insight, and I don't know if this fits into the podcast, but like, history rhymes. It doesn't always repeat itself, but there's really lessons that we can learn from our past and from our elders and from what's happened. And like, we need to always look for innovation, but the things that brought family together did so because it really made people feel special and warm and safe and beautiful. And so we learn from the past. And I think heritage, if something becomes a trend, it's like books. The longer a book is on the bestseller list, the more likely it'll be around in a century, right? Yeah. Because it's been proven to last, right? Yeah. So if something's on the bestseller list 1 year, it'll be forgotten in 3 years. Yeah. But if it's been on the bestseller list for 10 years, 100 years from now, people will be talking about it. And so if something is heritage or tradition, there was something about it that was amazing. Like, all of the other stuff were naturally selected out. So going back to heritage and getting your brand into it or creating its own tradition is a way to be successful. Yeah, agreed. I think, and that's really all that I wanted to say on that point is, if you have a brand that has heritage, now is the time to lean into that and, like, all the way, like, stop trying to be new, like, go back to what made you great. So, which is interesting because on a different lens, I want to talk about Alex Earle and that she joins Georgie, and it really speaks to, now to go to the novel side, the influencer side, how the relationship with influencers are changing, and that it's no longer a pay-to-play landscape. So in case you didn't know, this is not Alex Earle's first time in partnering with a beverage company. So previous to Georgie,
Alex Earle had partnered with Poppy and had gotten equity and invested in the company. And she basically exited major when they sold to PepsiCo for almost $2 billion. And what's interesting is Alex Earle was in Poppy's Super Bowl commercial. She was in tons of content. Alex Earle is seen to be like the most influential Gen Z influencer. They actually have a term called like the Alex Earle effect, and like whatever she touches tends to sell out. And now she has an abundance of people that are wanting to pay her money to post. She's now moving into a realm of, I'm putting my own money in, and I'm going to give you equity to use my likeness because it's now going to be worth way more money. And she's using this playbook a second time with Georgie, which is another female beverage company, to see if she can do it again. And it just speaks to like how the influencer landscape is changing.
Yeah, for me, you see it from the influencer perspective. I see it from the founder or the business owner perspective. Is like, how do I get way too many founders flounder when they're trying to do an exit strategy. They don't know how to kind of get that multiple that they want to sell their business because they want to do it the way they did it before, because they just want to spend on these people and they don't want to give away equity. And usually you wouldn't give away any equity, especially to somebody who, in quotes, who's an influencer. But in the metrics today that amplify exit value, partnering with the right influencer as you're getting ready can really make you way more money for giving away a little bit of the company. And not an influencer, but somebody who knows how to message you in a digital world, because that's critical.
Also, when you think about too, like think about how many times Alex Earle posted about it, had it in the background, decided to do a Super Bowl commercial. Like she's way more incentivized to show up in more ways when she gets a piece.
Yeah, it's a force multiplier.
Major.
Like I love that term. It's a force multiplier. It's not like a linear multiplier. Like if you have that type of weight behind you in terms of eyeballs, like you will change what you get for your company.
100%.
So it's brilliant.
100%. And then the last thing I want to talk about.
I have one more after.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about is Salomon. It hires an MM6 designer. So Salomon, the ski brand, activewear brand, taps the former creative director. Listen to this. Heikki Salonen for Salomon, the former creative director of MM6, Mason Margiela, as its new brand director.
It's a very Finnish name.
And what I think is really interesting is that it cements Gorpcore as the true luxury, and that Salomon is no longer just a hiking shoe. They are hiring the high fashion talent so that they can compete with brands like Balenciaga, like Miu Miu, like even, with Haider Ackermann joining in Canada Goose. It shows you that we're now in a place where we're blending practical and high performance outdoor gear with everyday high fashion and everyday kind of urban style.
This Gorpcore is a cool, what did it stand for again, the Gorp?
Good old raisins and peanuts.
Yeah.
So Gorpcore is the fashion trend of blending basically what I just said, the high performance outdoor gear with the hiking jackets, fleece, cargo pants, chunky boots with everyday urban style. And it's named Gorp, which is like basically the classic trail mix. And it's characterized by the functional, durable, and often technical fabrics. So it has to have like an element of technicality to it that makes it more than just like an activewear style. Like there's an elevation to the design through the technology of the fabric.
I think people are moving towards, if they're going to spend money on luxury, they want it to work. And because the people who are buying luxury products are more outdoorsy and athletic than I think they were in the past, that they're demanding more than just a logo slapped on a running shoe. They actually want a walking tool that is the best walking tool, right? And so you have to go to the people who've been in the industry for 40 years or 50 years making the best walking or hiking things. So that's the natural place to go from luxury, not Gucci throwing something on a Chinese-made hiking boot and calling that luxury,
I think less people, there's a very small percentage of people that find the need to have a closet stacked full of designer brands. Like the majority of the upper middle class and middle class, there's a range of brands where they have luxury accessories have never been higher. Like it's through the roof, men and women. That is growing very quickly. The resale market for bags and shoes is growing very quickly in accessories. But I think there's like, when I look at the Salomon brand, one of my clients had in the background of their Zoom this week, it's not that it's a luxury, it's that it's a more polished activewear brand. Like it comes across as more premium, and that we're buying, like I don't want to buy Nike anymore.
Well, so I can tell you that Salomon's brand is solid because the best hikers used it, right? Like it had credibility from the people who used it under the most extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
But in the past, the people who were buying that product had limited resources, right? So they couldn't overpay for things. But what I feel like what I'm seeing in industries is now, as everybody wants to kind of go the next level, and so now people who want the best walking, hiking, or whatever wear want more, but they're going to the people who have expertise in it and saying, give me a better, higher price point version of what, the old consumer could afford.
Well, what you're saying that's smart is Salomon had elevated its brand because its shoe became a fashion statement. Like it became a piece of fashion. And you saw a lot of people wearing it as had nothing to do with hiking or working out. It became like the shoe they were wearing to the office with dress pants. Like it became fashionable to wear Salomon sneakers. And it's interesting because when you're trying to compete in a saturated landscape, I mean, it goes back to our conversation on like the Louis Vuitton cloud. Like there's a desire for people to want to look good and kind of fit in this premium box while wearing functional technical products that make sense. Like there's less and less women that want to wear stilettos to the office, right? Like the shoes, they want to be functional and like to make sense, but they want it to look good. And like, it doesn't look good to wear like Nikes, when you're an executive. Like there's just, and I'm not saying that Salomon is that, but it's getting closer into the direction that it's more respectable for you to show up in a brand like Salomon because it looks so good.
Well, Salomon doesn't look good in an office environment. It looks like a hiking shoe. Like it's not going to be part of the dress code of any.
Well, not at the a law firm.
But
no.
if it's like a marketing, you know what I mean? It's a way of showing what matters too, right? Like
True.
I'm an outdoors person.
But what's really quick? I want to interesting. When I was doing research for this segment, the Salomon story is that it began in 1947 in Nancy, France, as a family workshop that made ski edges, and it evolved into an innovative ski bindings called the Skate. So like when you go skiing now and you like click out, that was Salomon's design. So they transformed, they revolutionized the ski boot experience and like having technical design to make skiing better. And they were purchased in 1997 by Adidas, and then they were sold and purchased by Amer Sports in 2005. And the brand has since basically expanded into trail running and hiking gear and has had a cult status in fashion for its technical Gorpcore aesthetic that is exemplified by shoes like the XT6.
Cool.
So I thought that was a cool story that Salomon became a name because they really transformed a sport.
But it comes from product excellence, like a natural evolution into product excellence.
Yeah.
Because as a hiker, you don't want to roll your ankle. And because they had amazing ski boots where you can't roll your ankle, like Salomon always had that kind of reputation for the best place not to roll an ankle in the mountain.
No, and that's exactly what they translated into shoes, is that exact same like level of expertise in design. So I thought that was fascinating in the research, but that's everything I got. Let's finish your last.
So I want to talk a little bit about Rob Reiner, and it talks about your point on heritage, because as we know, Rob Reiner tragically died in the last week, and he was an icon in terms of building excellence in movies. Like his book, like Princess Bride, one of the best movies ever made, I think. Stand By Me, like so many spectacular, but most people who are around my age know him as Meathead from a show called Archie Bunker, with, in the 1970s, done by this amazing director. Archie Bunker is one of the most popular TV shows because it showed the contrast between generations. And he was sexist, homophobic, racist, but he came from a generation. And then Rob Reiner played Meathead, who was the hippie in that time period.
He represented the change.
He represented the change, and there was constant tension in the family. And it was called All in the Family. But there was tension between the young and the old, and this kind of fighting. And he was really representing, the father, Archie Bunker, was representing this outdated period. But the arguments, and the reason why, if you guys get a second to watch the last episode of the last season, season 8, and watch the exchange between Rob Reiner as the son-in-law taking Archie's daughter to California, and the exchange he has with the old guy, and it's really quite touching. But this Christmas, people should be able to have disagreements with people and keep things in the family. But that's kind of a very cool way of looking at the past, because I think today when we look at how we have discussions in our family, they're much more adversarial than they were back then. And I just want to give a shout out to Rob Reiner, and we miss him. He was an amazing actor. Trump shouldn't have sent that tweet about him when he passed, but you know, he was an amazing guy to lose.
Yeah, it's a really sad story.
All right. Well, on that note, have a good Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas,
Be
everybody.
nice to each other.
Be nice to
It's
each
okay
other.
to disagree.
And we cannot wait to see you one more time before next year.
We're going to be in LA first week of January.
That we will, and we're getting actually a bunch of really cool interviews with some great people that own brands. We've got a lot of exciting stuff in store for 2026.
March, we've got a conference coming up for some select founders.
Yes, actually, that's great to talk about. So we're going to be putting on a conference. It's going to be capped at 150 people. We have some really big names that are going to be speaking. It's all about, it's for founders, for people who want to level up in branding, in business. I will have the lineup confirmed shortly.
Mostly female founder focus.
Mostly female founders. But it's like not going to be fluff. Like it's not, I love women in business. Right now it's all female speakers, might be some male speakers, but it's going to be an awesome event. I need to get the landing page out soon to pre-sell the tickets. It's going to be amazing. So if you want to come, it's in LA. The location's on Venice Beach. It's so freaking cool.
It's designed to level up your personal, your company brand, and just hang around with brilliant people.
I'm getting asked to speak at all of these like female business things, and they're all like, they're not giving the great information away. Like, let's talk about TikTok Shop. Let's talk about raising money. Let's talk about having a personal brand. Let's talk about let's navigate. Like, I want to discuss the things that are really hard for business owners. So if you're interested, send me a note on Instagram so I can put you aside, because I think the tickets are going to go really quickly.
It's going to sell out.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody.